Integrity holds an important aspect in organizational structure and employee ethics, especially in public management, where practicing integrity is important for the image of the organization towards the society. A good organizational operation starts from a good leader. Lack of integrity can endanger the reputation of the organization, where the employees are working in a negative environment created by the leader himself. Negative working environment can remove trust between leader and employee, which can lead to conflict and misunderstanding. Therefore, a leader should show a good example to ensure that positive working environment in the organization can be created.
So my name is Nur Anastasia binti Zambri. My number matric is 284789. So I will discuss about the background of the issue. Integrity is defined as an ideal standard that exists in a person's whole environment. It is based on ethics and the reflection of persons' ethics in their daily action. A leader in an organization must have this quality of integrity because the action of a leader will affect the actions of his subordinates. If we carefully look at the work environment and culture in Malaysia, especially in public administration, most of them did not practice working with integrity, which is they put self-interest above the public interest. They need to have this integrity in carry out the trust and authority that they are responsible for according to the public interest and not for their own interest. Why do we need to focus on public organization about this act of lack of integrity? Because they are a reflection of the image of the government itself. For example, six policemen including an inspector from the Jerantuk District Police Headquarters (IPD) were remanded until May 11, 2023 to assist in the investigation regarding the case of asking for a bribe amounting to 5,000 ringgit. Malaysia. Therefore, the lack of integrity in the leadership of a leader has a negative impact on the organization. It is because it will lead to a work environment that has various conflicts. A leader must develop and cultivate integrity himself. Therefore, the cultivation of integrity in an organization by the leadership of a leader is a necessity in the framework of strengthening productivity and the future course of an organization.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. My name is Nur Azlina binti Sapri and my metric number is 289692. So the first theory that is related to this topic is the transactional leadership or the managerial leadership. This leadership style is based on the action of performing an exchange or performing any transaction, and they also exist due to the assumptions that in order for workers to do their job and to achieve their goals, they need to be given some kind of rewards or punishment. So these rewards and punishment are given to them based on their job performances. If the job performances being shown by the workers are good, they would be given rewards and vice versa. So there are three approaches that includes in the transactional leadership. So the first one is the reinforcement theory. So it means that behaviors are molded by their consequences. So this principle also believes that human behaviors can be changed through punishment or reinforcement or even extinction. So the next one is active management by exception. This principle depends on active monitoring by the managers or the leaders in order to provide any issue to be arises. If there is any issue to be arises, they will act as soon as possible in order to reduce the amount of effect being suffered by the company. So the last one is the passive management by exception, which means that leaders are not directly involved in the process. However, they decide to supervise from afar and to see whether the workers are doing their job, and if there is any mistake or any issue being done by the workers, then they will act. If there is no kind of mistakes or any issue arises in the process, the supervisors will only supervise from afar and not intervene in the team's work. Moving on to the characteristic of transactional leadership and transactional leadership leaders. So the first one is they are not self-motivated. The motivation comes from the rewards and punishment being given to them by the company. The next one, they will follow the well-defined goals. So the workers does not need to set any goals for themselves. They just need to work as hard as possible in order to achieve the goals that have been set by the company beforehand. And the last but not least is they must be supervised and monitored closely. So the next one is the characteristic of the transactional leaders. The characteristic of transactional leadership leaders are, first one is they are often very direct. These leaders are often very direct and strict when it comes to giving instruction because their main goals is to get the workers to work as soon as possible and to achieve as many goals as possible. And they are less open to change because they need to avoid any kind of mistake being done or any kind of issue being arised when it comes to the process of achieving the goals. So any change are not welcome. And the next one is they follow the rules as precisely as possible and they prefer structure over flexibility. When it comes to flexibility, means that trying new things. So new things may cause issues or mistakes being done by the workers. They will cause effects to the company, and those managers and leaders are not welcome to any kind of mistake or any kind of issue being arise. So they prefer something very structured instead of something that is flexible. Last but not least, they focus on short-term goals instead of long-term goals because short-term goals are easier to be achieved instead of long-term goals because long-term goals need some longer process and more things to be spent in order to achieve them. So these leaders prefer short-term goals instead of long-term goals. So moving on to the pros and cons of transactional leadership. The first one is it allows organization to have consistency because when it comes to transactional leadership, they just need to follow the process that have been set, the steps that have been set. They don't need to do anything that is flexible or anything that is freestyle. They just need to follow the rules according to what has been set by the company. So there will be consistency when it comes to production and progress. The next one is there is clarity. As I mentioned earlier, the leaders are very strict and very direct when it comes to giving instruction. So the workers know what they need to be doing and what they need to be avoiding. And the next one is the troubleshooting and management of crisis. This is based on the principle that I mentioned earlier, which is the active management by exception, which the managers are actively involved in comes to process of achieving the goals in order to avoid any issue being arise or any mistake being done. However, there are cons of this leadership style. The first one is not flexible. As I mentioned earlier, they are very strict and they are not welcome to any kind of flexibility or any kind of changes. If it comes to flexibility and changes, it means that there will be mistakes or any kind of issue being arise because there are new things. Those things are not have yet been tried. And the next one is lack of innovation. This is also due to the rigidity of the process itself. They are not open or they're not welcoming any kind of changes. Therefore, there are lack of innovation being done in the process of transactional leadership.
My name is Nurul Tasnim Nabia binti Azman. My matric number is 284510. Next, the model of ethical leadership. There are studies that show ethical leadership has influence in implementing administration with integrity. Ethical leadership acts as a way of normatively appropriate behavior through personal action and role models for followers. A leader with integrity and ethics will demonstrate a leadership style that can set an example and influence subordinates. Therefore, they will be more respected and trusted by subordinates. The credibility of ethical leaders is likely to have a significant influence on trust between leaders and followers. Secondly, the delivery of the vision and mission to employees requires a leader who is able to take responsibility for guiding subordinates. By combining the need to have a leader and the importance of ethics in the organization, the concept of ethical leadership is very important to be applied in an organization. Ethical leadership can help leaders in making ethical decisions. Therefore, leaders will make ethical decisions even in risky situations. There are some leaders who are willing to make unethical decisions for their own benefit by ignoring the values of the organization. The last part is a framework for ethical leadership that covers three aspects, which are the key behaviors of justice, power sharing, and role clarification. Justice is very important for ethical leaders because it involves acting honestly, treating subordinates equally, and being trustworthy. The second aspect is power sharing. It involves subordinates who have the power to speak up and express opinions and can give consideration to their ideas. Finally, role clarification, where it requires honest communication and mutual respect with subordinates. such as clarification of expectations, goals and process. Clearly, stating goals and objectives can help create trust and foster positive relationships between leaders and followers.
Hi, my name is Satina Aisha Metia Design. My metric number is 284850. I'm going to continue the presentation with 4.0 Solution and Suggestion. 4.1 Promoting Transparency. It's about leaders who share information, making a decision clearly, and keeping everyone in the loops. There are several ways to promote transparency in leadership. The first one is open communication. Leaders should encourage open dialogue within the organization, and they should communicate clearly, honestly, and consistently to build trust. The second one is lead by example. Leaders should embody the values they expect to achieve from others. They need to demonstrate integrity in their own action in order to set a powerful precedent for the entire organization. The third one is accountability measure. They need to implement mechanisms in order to hold leaders accountable for their action. This could involve regular assessment, feedback system, or a process for addressing ethical violation. The next one is ethic training. Offer a short training session is focused on ethical decision making. This can help leaders to understand the importance of integrity and equip them with the tool to navigate complex situations. The last one is seek feedback. Regularly solicit feedback from employees about leadership behavior and organizational culture. This can help identify potential integrity issues and areas for improvement. We need to remember that fostering integrity in leadership is an ongoing process that requires commitment from everyone within the organization. By prioritizing ethical behavior and holding leaders accountable, it is possible to create culture where the integrity is thrive. For example, we can take the example from the Prime Minister of New Zealand, which is Jacinda Ardern. She showed the leadership style, transparency leadership style, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. She being open about the situation and providing clear guidance, and also then she built a trust and credibility. Her approach exemplifies how transparency is not just theory but a practical tool for fostering trust and steering through turbulent times. The first one is promoting moral behavior in organization. Rewarding moral behavior in organization reinforces the foundation of integrity within a both transitional and ethical leadership sphere. When employees who demonstrate ethical conduct are acknowledged and rewarded, it cultivates a workplace culture that not only values but actively celebrates moral behavior. This recognition sets a precedent for the other to emulate similar conduct, fostering a collective commitment to ethical standards. The second one is encouraging ethical conduct for career development. The emphasis on moral conduct within leadership role is not just a set of guidelines. It's a fundamental aspect that drives the success of the company. By highlighting the significance of integrity in leadership position, the organization incentives employees to align their action with ethical principles. This alignment is not just about personal conduct. It's seen as a pathway to career advancement. So it's a nation's workforce that values ethics, intertwining it with individual career progression. For example, under Satya Nadella leadership in Microsoft, morality is a top priority in Microsoft. They actively promote through principles like privacy, accessibility, and ethical AI. Microsoft acknowledges and honors staff members who are involved in the moral initiative, extending incentive and leadership opportunity to those that excel in ethics. Rewarding ethical conduct is vital for leadership integrity, setting a clear standard and motivate a principled workforce that benefit both the organization and its employees. That's all from me. I'm going to pass to the next presenter.
Example for others. Leaders who continuously demonstrate their commitment to ethical standards can encourage their staff to do the same, building a climate of trust and responsibility. Leading with ethics start at the top. Leaders need to set an example for the conduct they anticipate from their staff. Empirical leadership is centered on setting a good example. Encourage honest communication. The term leadership communication describes how well a leader interact and communicate with both executive and team members of their organization. This could involve the way in which they offer and receive instruction, communicate and development, offer team congratulations, resolve dispute through mediation, and impose suitable sanction. Encouraging sharing means that workers who feel they have a good working relationship with their employer are more likely to offer suggestions for how to make the company better.
In conclusion, integrity needs to be practiced by each individual in an organization, starting with the leader itself, as the leader is a reflection of their subordinates. If the leader is great, so are the subordinates too. Therefore, integrity values in leadership is very important as it really gives positive impacts towards society's impression on the organization.